The most important skill was never taught. Not in school. Not in business books. Not in leadership seminars. You won't find courses on it. No TED Talks celebrate it. No influencers build brands around it. Because the people who mastered it never talked about it. That was the whole point. It's invisible by design. Powerful by absence. And the people who wield it best are the ones you never see coming. Because they never show up to the fight in the first place. We are taught to speak up. To make our voices heard. To stand our ground. From childhood, the message is clear. Silence is weakness. Silence is compliance. Silence is what happens when you don't have anything smart to say. Debate class rewards the best counterargument. Corporate training celebrates assertive communication. Leadership books tell you to lean in, speak truth to power, never let them see you sweat. Social media rewards the clapback, the MIC drop, the perfect response that puts someone in their place, the quote tweet that destroys, the comment that ends the conversation. We worship articulation, quick thinking, verbal dominance, never backing down, the person who always has something to say, the one who wins every exchange, the one who never lets anything slide, the lawyer who corners you with logic, the debater who dismantles your position, the coworker who always gets the last word in the meeting. That's power, right? That's strength. That's what smart looks like. Being quick, being sharp, being unshakable in your convictions. We are told that silence in the face of conflict is cowardice. That if you don't defend yourself, you've admitted defeat. That if someone comes for you and you say nothing, you've lost. The entire structure of modern discourse is built on this assumption. Engagement equals strength. But then you meet someone who doesn't play that game. Someone who lets the insult hang in the air. Who watches the provocation and says nothing. Who refuses to be drawn into the fight no matter how personal it gets. And you realize something unsettling. The strongest people in the room are often the ones who said nothing at all. Here's what nobody tells you about arguments. The goal isn't to win. It's to not lose yourself in the process. And silence. Silence is how you do that. Not the silence of weakness. Not biting your tongue because you're afraid. The silence of strategy. Of emotional control. Of knowing that some battles aren't worth the cost of entry. Because here's the truth. Most arguments aren't about being right. They're about being heard. Being validated. Being seen as the winner. Think about the last argument you had. Really think about it. Were you actually trying to change their mind? Or were you trying to prove you weren't wrong? Were you seeking truth? Or were you seeking vindication? Most conflicts aren't intellectual disagreements. They're emotional transactions. Someone feels dismissed, so they attack. Someone feels insecure, so they provoke. Someone feels powerless, so they pick a fight they can win. And the moment you engage, you've already given them what they wanted. Not victory. Not validation. Your attention. Your energy. Your emotional bandwidth. You've agreed to the trade. You've entered their frame. You've accepted the premise that this fight matters. And that's the trap. Because once you're in, you can't win by being right. You can only win by being more willing to fight longer, argue harder, care more about being seen as correct. You have to match their energy, their aggression, their need to not back down. You have to become the thing you're arguing against. Silence withdraws the resource they need to keep fighting. It's not passive. It's refusal. It's the realization that you don't owe anyone a debate. You don't owe them your case. You don't owe them the satisfaction of watching you defend yourself. You can't argue with someone who won't show up to the argument. You can't provoke someone who won't react. You can't win against someone who never agreed to play. And here's the part that drives people crazy. Silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you've decided this fight isn't worth what it will cost you to participate. There's a difference between having no response and choosing not to respond. Between being speechless and being strategic. Between losing and refusing to compete. Most people never learn this distinction. They think silence is what happens when you don't know what to say. That's what happens when you know exactly what to say, and you decide your piece is worth more than saying it. The hardest part about silence isn't the not speaking. It's the restraint. Because your body wants to defend. Your ego wants to correct. Your pride wants to prove them wrong. Every instinct you have is screaming, say something. Your heart rate increases. Your jaw clenches. Your mind is already 3 responses deep, crafting the perfect takedown, the irrefutable logic, the comment that will end this once and for all. You can feel it building. The urge. The need. Just one sentence. Just to set the record straight. Just to make sure they know they're wrong. That's all it would take. But the people who master silence understand something most people never learn. Responding gives them power. Not responding takes it away. Think about what happens when you refuse to engage. Someone insults you in a meeting. Everyone waits for your reaction. And you say nothing. You don't defend. You don't deflect. You just move on. The insult hangs there. Awkward. Unsatisfying. Without the reaction it was designed to provoke. The person who said it, they look worse than you do. Because they swung at air. Someone baits you into a pointless debate online. They're clearly not interested in truth, just in being right. And instead of typing out the paragraph you've already drafted in your head, you close the tab. No response. No validation. No fuel for their fire. They'll wait. Check back. Maybe even double down, trying harder to get you to bite. But you've already moved on. Because you decided that argument wasn't worth the version of yourself you'd have to become to win it. Someone tries to pull you into their chaos, their drama, their need to be right about something that doesn't matter. And you just don't go. Not because you can't. Because you won't. And that restraint, that ability to watch someone flail in an argument you refuse to enter, is one of the most brutal forms of control you can have. Not over them. Over yourself. Because here's what most people don't realize. Every time you respond, you're training yourself. You're teaching your nervous system that this kind of conflict is worth your energy. That these provocations deserve your attention. That you need to defend yourself against every challenge, every criticism, every bad faith argument. You're building a habit of reactivity. And reactivity is exhausting. It's why some people are constantly in conflict. Constantly defending. Constantly fighting battles that don't matter with people who don't care. Because they never learned restraint. They never learned that you can survive someone being wrong about you. You can survive someone thinking less of you. You can survive the discomfort of not correcting every misunderstanding. Silence isn't avoiding the fight. It's choosing which version of yourself you want to be. The one who reacts to everything? Or the one who responds to what matters? The one who needs to win every argument? Or the one who's secure enough to let some go? The one who's always defending? Or the one who's already moved on? Restraint isn't weakness. It's the ultimate act of self-preservation. She learned this the hard way. Years of explaining herself, defending her choices, correcting every misunderstanding, fighting every accusation. In college, someone spread a rumor about her. Not true, but damaging. And she spent weeks trying to set the record straight, reaching out to friends, explaining what really happened, desperate for people to know the truth. The more she explained, the guiltier she looked. At her first job, a coworker took credit for her work in a meeting. And she couldn't let it go. She brought it up afterward. Sent emails. Made sure everyone knew it was her idea. She got the credit. But she also got a reputation. Difficult. Defensive. Someone who cares too much about being right. In her relationships, every slight became a trial. Every misunderstanding had to be resolved immediately. She needed people to understand her side, to validate her perspective, to admit when they were wrong. She thought it was honesty, directness, refusing to let things fester. But it was exhausting. For her. And for everyone around her. She thought engagement meant strength. That silence meant letting people get away with things. That if she didn't fight back, she was weak. But every time she responded, she lost a little more peace. A little more energy. A little more of herself. Because defending yourself constantly means you're always on trial. Until one day, someone came at her with the same old accusations. A former colleague, someone who'd never liked her, posted something online. A thinly veiled criticism. A jab that was clearly about her. And everyone who saw it knew it was about her. Her first instinct. Respond. Defend. Correct the record. She drafted the response. A perfect, measured takedown. Factual. Calm. Devastating. Her finger hovered over post. And then she stopped. She asked herself a question she'd never asked before. What do I win if I respond? Not am I right? She knew she was right. Not do I have a good response? She had a great one. But what do I actually win? She'd get to be right. Publicly. She'd get validation from people who already knew the truth. But she'd also be dragged back into someone else's drama. She'd give attention to someone who didn't deserve it. She'd spend her evening thinking about this instead of literally anything else. She'd win the argument, but she'd lose her peace. So she deleted the draft. And she said nothing. Not because she didn't have a response, because she didn't owe them one. And something shifted. The argument they wanted, it never happened. The validation they were fishing for, they didn't get it. The reaction they needed to feel powerful, gone. A few people reached out. Did you see what they posted? Are you going to say something? No, she said. I'm good. And she was. Her silence didn't feel like weakness. It felt like freedom. Because she finally understood, you don't win arguments by having the last word. You win by deciding you don't need to say anything at all. The person who posted about her? They looked desperate, petty, like they were still fighting a battle she'd already walked away from. And she was already thinking about something else. That's the power of silence. Not that it makes you look strong, but that it lets you actually be free. We live in a world that's constantly trying to provoke you. Every notification is an invitation to react. Every bad take is bait. Every argument online is a trap disguised as a conversation. The algorithm rewards conflict. The culture celebrates comebacks. The entire attention economy is built on making you care about things that don't matter. So you'll engage with things that don't serve you. Someone tweets something objectively wrong. The replies light up. Everyone racing to be the smartest person correcting them. Someone posts a terrible opinion. The quote tweets pile on. Everyone performing their outrage, their superiority, their perfectly crafted takedown. Someone insults you in a comment section, in a group chat, in a meeting, in real life. And the culture tells you, if you don't respond, you're weak. If you stay silent, you're complicit. If you don't defend yourself, you've lost. But that's the lie. That's the game that keeps you playing. Because every response is data. Every reaction is engagement. Every argument is time you'll never get back spent on someone who is never going to change their mind anyway. Silence isn't surrender. It's selection. You're not refusing to fight because you can't. You're refusing because you've decided your energy is worth more than their need for conflict. Real emotional intelligence isn't knowing what to say. It's knowing when not to say anything at all. It's the ability to watch someone be wrong about you and not feel compelled to correct them. To see bad faith and not take the bait. To recognize a fight that will cost more than it could ever be worth. Real self-control isn't managing your words. It's managing your need to use them. It's sitting with the discomfort of not responding, of not defending, of letting someone think less of you. It's being secure enough in who you are that you don't need everyone else to understand it. And real power. Real power is walking away from an argument you could absolutely win. Because you know the cost of winning isn't worth it. Because here's what they don't tell you about winning arguments. You might be right. You might have the facts. You might dismantle their logic completely. But you'll still walk away drained. Angry. Thinking about it for hours, maybe days. You'll have spent your emotional energy, your mental bandwidth, your actual time on someone who probably won't even remember the conversation tomorrow. You'll have won the argument, but you'll have lost the evening. The peace. The part of yourself that wasn't reactive. The people who master silence don't avoid conflict because they're afraid. They avoid it because they understand something most people spend their whole lives learning. Not every fight deserves your presence. Not every provocation deserves your response. And not every argument is worth the version of yourself you have to become to win it. You can be right and still choose silence. You can have the perfect response and decide not to use it. You can win by not competing. Because silence isn't about them. It's about you. It's about protecting your energy from people who want to drain it. It's about refusing to let someone else's chaos become your problem. It's about understanding that your peace is more valuable than their opinion of you. Silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you have something better to protect. Your peace. Your time. Your sense of self that doesn't need constant defending. And in a world that's constantly asking you to react, to respond, to engage with every conflict it throws at you, The most radical thing you can do is choose silence. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to know what's worth your energy and what isn't.